We're live. What is up, everybody? Happy Friday. I am here with my beautiful friend, Kristen Nedopak. And give me just a second here while I make sure that I share this into my Sensitives group. While you're waiting, go ahead and say hi. Drop something in the comments below if you're watching. I know probably a lot of people are going to watch this replay because it's Friday night, but we're doing it. We're doing it anyway.
Oh, but not only is it Friday night, but this is supposedly one of the most magical nights of the month, and that's why we're doing it tonight, because November 8th is magical, and clearly we've got our
magic
stars, and everything here is going to be magic.
And also, Kristen surprised me and came into town for my birthday. I had no idea she was coming. I was so happy and surprised yesterday. All right, guys, give me 1 second here. I'm just going to share this in my group with my slow-ass internet. And as soon as I get that in there, we are going to riff. So we have some really fun stuff to talk to you guys about tonight.
Yeah. Ooh, I want to share this on my page now. So you guys chat while I'm sharing.
Yeah, so basically the reason that I wanted to come on and come live is, as you guys know, first of all, I'm challenging myself to do a lot more live videos. So that's one thing. So here I am again. And I also am going to be doing a little interview series over What's Up, Chris Green? And hi, Jen. I'm going to be doing a little interview series over the next couple of weeks. If you guys have been watching my page, you probably know that I have just opened the doors, just opened enrollment to my Sensitive Badass mentorship program. And so this interview series is really a way for me to feature like really badass sensitive women who have gone through the process of doing the inner work, doing the personal growth work, so that you guys can see like the result that comes out on the other end. And when you really put this work into yourself and are able, as a sensitive woman, to give to yourself and to put yourself first, the things that can happen are beyond what you could even imagine. You know, I always say that sensitives are really good leaders, and a lot of times people are like, balk at that. Like, how could I be a good leader as a sensitive? But the thing is that when you go through the path of becoming an empowered empath, that's when you start to see how you can lead just by being who you are. And Kristen and I have both done an immense amount of
so much
inner work.
The work, you're like, the work. Exhaustion. We're literally over here saying like, is it done? Can we be done? Can we have like a freaking break? Because sometimes that's what it feels like.
It does.
And I think that that's what you guys must feel is like, okay, when does it never end? And of course it never ends. But that's kind of one of the things we were talking about is like, you don't have to wait.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's life is a constant evolution, and growth is a constant evolution. And, you know, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the work that I do is I've had so many mentors and guides help me get to where I am today. I have amazing friends who have been with me every step of the way. And, you know, and now I get to share that growth and knowledge and wisdom with the women that I work with. And it is, I just can't even begin to tell you, like, if you had met me like 15 years ago, you would not recognize me at all. This personal growth work, and for anybody really, but particularly for us sensitive empaths, because we really struggle to give to ourselves, right? We're out there just sharing our heart with everybody else, helping and healing and serving, because that's how we are naturally are. That's our, you know, natural trait. That's part of our gift. But so many of us struggle with turning that back inward and taking the time to really get to know ourselves and heal ourselves and grow internally and listen to the voice of our inner guide instead of being so distracted by everything that's going on in the world around us, and also by everybody else's emotions and energies. And so, Kristen, why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, you know, just some of the inner work that you've done, your personal growth journey, and how you feel like that has impacted your life?
Absolutely. So, you know, it's kind of interesting because when you're starting out the journey, you don't really know it's a journey, right? You're just like, I think 1 minute, especially as an empath too, like 1 minute you're like, I'm in life and things aren't right and nothing's feeling good and I'm not with the right people and I'm not hanging out with the right people. But I think overall as empaths, the number one thing that we feel in the beginning of this journey is that like I'm overwhelmed by my emotions and I'm just completely wiped going out in public. So I will say that obviously I'm, you know, I'm no spring chicken, but my journey kind of started when I moved to Los Angeles. When I was 30 years old, I moved to Los Angeles. And I had say previous to that, I had kind of spent my entire childhood being sensitive, but also kind of being around good people. That's when I had met you. I lived in Seattle before that, so I was around really good people. So here I am, confident, like, I want to move to Los Angeles and I'm going to do this thing, and I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to create my own work, and it's all going to be great. Well, if we all know Los Angeles is like the epitome of just like crazy energy, and it was probably one of the craziest decisions I made. I know I had to make it for my own personal growth, and I see that now. But I lived there for 12 years, and throughout that time, I was trying to be a leader. I had created a whole bunch of work. I went out and did what I wanted to. But when I put myself out there and I was seen and I was in the spotlight, I got like a ton, without going into the story, which we can in a minute, but just long story short, I put myself out into the spotlight and I got a ton of judgment, a ton of envy, a ton of just like this really toxic energy thrown at me for doing all of these big things that I'm doing. And it broke me. So that was really the point where I think I had my big spiritual awakening, because throughout my life, I was kind of like, okay, I know I'm sensitive, but like I wasn't playing big enough for it to like, you know, make a huge impact. But then once I stepped out into the world, it just completely like crushed me to get all of that energy. And that is because I had not done the inner work. So when I say it crushed me, I don't want to tell anybody like, don't go out there, don't do your thing.
No.
Not at all. But I will say this, if you don't have a strong inner foundation, which I did not have, it will take a bigger toll on you. So like, as we're looking at going out there, I think had I done it the other way, I kind of learned the hard way. Like I went out there and then I was like, whoa, there's a lot of work I need to do. I went back. I did the work, spent many years doing the work, and then I went back out, and it was like a glorious experience. And so my point is like, because we're talking about, and your program is all about how to prepare people to step out there and doing that clearing. And had I done that over, I would have started with like, let's take a look at my childhood. Let's take a look at all of the times when people told me I was too sensitive. Let's think about like how I really feel about that part of myself, about being an empath. And honestly, during that process, I realized that like I was afraid to follow my intuition. I was afraid to tell people I was a witch. I was afraid to tell people I was intuitive, because they'd always be like, you're so sensitive, like you're in Hollywood, you need to get thicker skin. When really that is actually my strength, is like being able to read people like that and know who to work with and who to not work with. So I guess that's just kind of my short journey, is that stepping out into the world as an empath in a really big way, and then being like shrinking back and being like, whoa, what did I do? Like, no, that was all wrong. But then doing that inner work and actually taking the time to go into myself and be like, no, this is who I am, and I'm standing in that power as a sensitive person. And now that I've gone back out into the world, it's like people literally have been sending me messages. I'm not even kidding. For the last 3 weeks, like, all of your pictures, you look like you're glowing. You know, and I just left Hollywood like 2 months ago. So it's not even that long, but it was like, whoa, I did the work, and that inner beauty and that inner sensitivity is like shining through. And that is like, that's the difference. And now people are like, how do I work with you? How can we get together? What can we do? Like, you're in this magical place. And I was like, yeah, because I did the work.
Yeah.
I did that work. Yeah.
And do you feel now like you are no longer feel like you have to hide your sensitivity or apologize for being sensitive?
Oh my gosh.
Explain away being an empath or all those sorts of things.
Okay, so the other week I moved to Oregon, and by the way, being sensitive, 100%, you should consider where you live. You have to consider your environment. LA was not the right place for me. I still do work there, but I do it from over here. So like that's something to consider. So when I moved, I was like, I'm ready to be myself. I'm just going to throw myself out there. And I actually posted a video on Facebook where I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, there are so many people in my life that did not love me because of my sensitivity. And Amber saw it, and I was bawling. And I said, I picked up my camera or my phone and I put it on camera, and I just started talking to the phone. And I was watching, I was like, I don't know if I should post this. I'm like, F it, I'm going to post it. So that is a testament to how much I was like, this is me. This is who I am. I'm freaking bawling on camera talking about how people that love me for being sensitive. And guess what? that's wrong. And I just posted it. And do you know how many people messaged me and posted? They like out of the woodwork, people were like, that video, that was me. I'm sensitive. And that's like what you're doing with your program. It's like, you know, you're sensitive and you are finding those other people that like need you. And it's like such a huge thing. But now I'm like, this is me, man. And I'm going to cry and I'm going to talk about being an intuitive. And that's me. Like, that's all I can say is like, I'm stepping out into the world as myself. And now the other cool thing is, as I'm being myself, all of these other things are coming to me and aligning, and I'm getting signs from the universe about here's how you use that to do what you're meant to do.
Yes.
And so the first step is like, you stand in your power as yourself. Because I know sometimes we're always like, what do I do with my life? I don't know. What's my purpose? Well, as long as you are yourself and you spend that energy focusing on being you, all of a sudden, like, whoa, I could do that. Wait, I'm getting guided. And it is because you are in alignment with the thing that you're meant to do as yourself. So that's the place I'm in now, where I was like, whatever I was doing before wasn't right, but I needed to go through that to get the experience, because that's the work. It initiated the work. And now I'm like, okay, everything feels amazing. Everything's in alignment. I'm doing the exact thing I should. Life feels great. And I said, like, I don't have any more anxiety. I don't have any depression. Like, I just feel like so wonderful and so confident in just being like, no matter what happens, I feel safe. I am safe and I am myself. That's something we should actually talk about, is like the safety.
The safety thing is
what do you think about that? Like,
well,
how do you feel like safe going out there?
Before we step into that, so and I'm loving everything you're saying, and this is why, you guys, this is why I wanted to bring women, really strong, sensitive, confident, powerful women like Kristen on here to talk about this, because, you know, I think so many of us feel like we're just stuck and we have to hide certain parts of who we are to be able to belong in society. And that, you know, I know so many sensitive people have this deep desire inside that they see the dark places of the world. We want to do something about it. We want to help, but we feel so blocked by the fact that we feel misunderstood. We are so, you know, outward focused usually, that oftentimes, until we start sort of surrendering to the inner work, we don't even really know what's going on in here. We're not listening to the voice of our inner guide. We're not listening to the voice of our soul. Nobody's taught us how to do that. And so we're cutting off one of our main superpowers, which is our intuition.
Oh, 100%.
And when Kristen was talking about being in flow and in alignment, you know, the same thing happened for me, because I always knew deep down inside that I wanted to do something that was going to help people and heal people. But I ended up working in advertising for years, you know, because I was stuck in the shoulds and I wasn't listening to what was going on in here. I would hear the voice that would say, you need to be helping people. You need to be healing people. I had the desire, but I would let that get overridden by the voices of the world and the pressure and, you know, what society said about what you're supposed to do and what's the right thing to do and how to make money and all of these things. And I ended up burnt out and exhausted and drained and depressed and just completely fucking miserable until I hit my knees and I surrendered and I said, something has got to give. I have got to change this. And that is when I turned back within and started doing that work. And I sought out my own healers and my own therapists and my own coaches and went through this massive transformation. And as that was happening, things just started showing up for me. I mean, I literally, I'm sure you guys have heard me tell this story before. When I was working in advertising, while I was doing this healing work on myself, a life coach school literally showed up in my building directly across the hall from me. So magic things happen when you get in alignment. And the trick for us sensitives is that, you know, we feel like it's selfish to give to ourselves, or we're afraid to give to ourselves. We're afraid that people are going to judge us if we stand strong in our sensitivity. We're afraid that, you know, we're afraid to open the floodgates of all the pain that we've been carrying around for so long, the weight of the world on our shoulders. And let me tell you, this work is not always easy and it's not always fun, but the other end of it is so fucking awesome. Like, if I think about how I felt before I did all this personal growth work and who I am now, like, I'm completely comfortable in my own skin, you know, and it's so freeing and it's so validating and there's so much relief that comes with it. And then, you know, you get in that alignment and get in that flow and feel safe enough to be out in the world, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm not saying that every single sensitive or empath needs to be, you know, an intuit or a life coach or whatever. Sometimes it's just in your own home or in your own community. But what I do know is that the vast majority of us have a deep, deep desire inside to make a difference in this world and to feel like we're contributing and to feel like we're using our healing powers. And once you get to the place where your cup is filled up and you are taken care of and you have that fierce connection to yourself that strong roots, right? And like connection to your inner guide and your inner GPS system, it's not as scary anymore.
Yes.
You feel empowered to get out there and start using your voice and again, in whatever way that is. You don't have to be doing videos like we're doing right here. Maybe you're a writer, maybe you're an artist, maybe, you know, you run a daycare, but you want to take more of a leadership role. It doesn't matter what it is or on what kind of scale, but to become empowered and to realize that, you know, sensitivity is a gift. It is a true divine gift, and there's so many different things that you can do with it. But when you're stuck in that place where you're just trying to survive and get through every single day, you're never going to be able to access and unlock the true power and magic that lies inside of you. And that is why I created this program. And that is why I do the work that I do, because you can, within a 6-month period, have massively accelerated results if you just surrender to the fact that you deserve to give to yourself, and you deserve to take time for yourself, and you deserve to look back within and go in here and not just heal out everybody else out there, but give yourself a chance to heal, give yourself a chance to grow, give yourself a chance to get to know yourself. Because what happens, guys, is that when you come out the other side of that, it doesn't mean that you're no longer helping people or giving to people. But the difference is that now you're not a doormat or a people pleaser or walking around just like open, like, hey, everybody come, like I'll suck up all of your negative energy. Because you have taken your power back. So you can decide when you want to turn on that healing magic. You can decide, and there are ways to protect yourself. There are ways to have that very strong foundation so that you don't, you know, unconsciously pick up everybody's energy all the time. So that when you do intentionally decide to help or heal or serve or give or lead, whatever it is, it's 10,000 times more powerful. And you don't end up getting depleted and exhausted and resentful and overwhelmed.
You know, this is a really interesting topic. So I'm not going to say this is for everyone, but this is something I just had a reading with this woman who is a brilliant intuitive. And just to put this in perspective too, because it feels like, oh my God, I have to do all this work. She literally said to me, you like, I did the work. I did the inner work. That is definitely, that's mandatory, because if you aren't, and when we say the work, we know that means like going into all the places and loving all of those aspects of yourself that you feel ashamed of. Like, I'm ashamed that I'm emotional. I'm ashamed of being sensitive. And first of all, one of the number one way, and I say this, like one of the number one ways to feel safe is to literally do the thing that you fear. So like, I was like, I'm just going to go cry on camera and put it out there and see what happens. And like 1 million people related to it. And it made me feel safe to cry on camera. I was like, great. Well, now I don't feel like that's a bad thing anymore. But one of the things this lady said to me, so after you do this work, she said, you literally, all you have to do is walk out into the world as your authentic self, like just being on camera. I actually said yesterday, I said, I was told that I need to be on camera more by my guides. And Amber's like, good, you're going to be on my show. I was like, look at that. Literally instant manifestation. Like, she didn't plan this. We didn't plan this. She didn't even know I was coming.
I didn't know she was coming until
and all
yesterday.
of a sudden she's like, oh, I needed a guest on my show and you're at my house right now. And I was like, and I just said I had to be on camera. Because it's really important for us to be seen. And literally as empaths and intuitives, like we have all of these other gifts. With being sensitive comes a psychic ability, comes fierce intuition, however you want to use it. Those are like superpowers. But literally being your authentic self, whether you're an empath or not, when you step out into the world and you are seen going to the grocery store, going this and there, you are healing people around you. You actually don't have to do anything. For example, I had like the best night and I knew I was coming here and I was like, that's it. I'm clear. Like, I'm standing in my power and I'm being seen. So I get up the next morning, I go to the airport and like everyone was talking to me. And I was like, whoa, the guy at TSA was like singing and he's like, I love your nails. And all of a sudden he was like talking to me and like nobody else. And I was just like, I'm just feeling so seen right now. And I just felt like I was glowing. And like I said, people would just comment about like, you're glowing. But that's the beauty of when you do the work, when you go out there, again, like we don't know what you're doing. You could be a coach, you could be a musician, you could be a mom, it doesn't matter. But just your presence alone as that powerful empath that you are, just your presence, because we think like we can feel everyone else's emotions, well, everyone can feel our emotions too. So when we are like putting out all of that care and that love, because we are more emotional than most people, everyone around us feels it, and they feel loved and they feel safe. And you can literally walk into a room and have everyone go, ah.
Yes.
That's happened, hasn't it?
I love that you said that, because
Yes.
we're so used to being the ones that absorb everybody else's stuff. But I'm so glad you pointed that out, because we have the power to expand and put our emotions out there super powerfully, just as much as we can take in everybody else's. But we don't realize that.
That's huge.
We don't realize that, because, and I think too with the safety, it's like, when we're like disempowered and we haven't really done the work to you know, have that deep connection to ourselves, we are feeling very, and at least this is how it felt for me, and I think for so many of my clients, very vulnerable to the world around us. It's scary. We feel overwhelmed. We get exhausted. We don't want to go out in public. We don't want to be in crowds or malls. And to be fair, I still don't like crowds or malls. And that's fine.
Malls
that's
can
fine.
go.
But
malls need to die.
but just making the point that like part of the reason that we feel so vulnerable is that we feel like we are at the mercy of the world around us. We are at the mercy of the mass amount of information that's being pushed into our face. We are at the mercy of the noise, the energetic noise, the emotional noise, everything coming at us. And we also at the same time are looking outside of ourselves for our worth and our validation, that we are okay and that we are enough. And so of course we don't fucking feel safe, right? Because everything is loud and noisy and chaotic, and we're getting messages that there's something wrong with us because we're so emotional. So we're trying to hide who we are, but then we're trying to exist in this world, and we're out there and we feel scared, and it feels like, you know, nobody thinks, like everybody misunderstands us, and it is a shit way to live. And I used to think that was just what it was. That was just what it was, you know. But when you build that worth and validation from the inside out, when you build those strong roots, and when I say strong roots, I'm talking about like being able to see yourself the way that other people see you, being able to own your shadow and your light, knowing who you are, knowing how to listen to your inner voice over the voice of the world, being able to work through the blocks, the limiting beliefs, the things that have held you back, the things that people have fucking told you that you internalized and have become your inner dialogue, moving through that stuff, healing that stuff, getting it off your plate, so that you actually have a clear picture of who you are and what you want and what your purpose is on this planet. And then if you don't want to go to the mall, don't go. But you can go out in the world and feel safe, because the safety comes from in here, not from the outside in. It comes from the inside out. And that is what this work is about. And then, like Kristen was saying, when you are an empowered empath and you are out there, you just shine.
Yeah.
Because now you're not bogged down by all of that limiting blocks and the crap that you've been picking up from everybody else. And so you just get to shine the beauty of who you are. So you're happier, you're healing people more intentionally and more strongly, and you just can have your presence be a healing presence for anyone, but especially for the other sensitives and empaths of the world. When they see you standing in your light, that inspires them to do the same. When they see that you are not apologizing for your sensitivity, they're like, wow, maybe there's not something wrong with me either.
Absolutely.
It creates a massive ripple effect of change in the world. And us sensitive empaths are needed so badly right now, so badly. And so we really need to be there for each other and encourage each other to give to ourselves and do this work, so that we can really be at the top of our healing capacity, you know, for what's going on in the world today.
Well, I want to add one thing, because that's so brilliant when we're talking about shining. Something that this woman told me, she said, you know, when you shine, that is your shield. She said, you don't have to go out, like as a sensitive person, as an empath, where I was like, how do I shield myself? How do I get out of this energy? When you're shining, you are your own shield. You actually don't have to shield yourself, because you have so much vibrance and so much radiance and so much energy and so much self-power that all of that crap, it's like it just ricochets off you.
Yes.
So the more you actually embrace your sensitivity, the more that stuff doesn't bother you. Like I used to be so like noises. I was like, oh my God, okay. You know, and I was like sleeping with earplugs and eye mask, and I was like, you know, huddling, and I couldn't go out in the crowd. And now I feel like I go out and I feel like I'm this glowing ball of light. And then I come home and I'm like, I'm not exhausted, you know. And I definitely get in situations where I take on other people's energies, and like that just happened to me, and like, you know, those things are gonna happen. But as a whole, like, you are your shield. And so when you think about shining, it's like you don't have to worry about, if you're just yourself and you are putting it out there, you don't have to worry about all that protection. The other thing I wanted to note was that as a sensitive person, we don't realize that, like, okay, we are a special breed. We are here to change the world because every human being on the planet is actually sensitive. It's just that we have it so intensely that we can't hide it. Yeah. But what we're doing right now on this planet is we are showing every human being that they're human. They have emotions. It's okay to feel them. As one of our friends, Brianne, said, it's like, if everyone in the world just felt their feelings, we would not have all of these problems.
Yeah.
So we are actually, that is our service, is like, the more we show people how it's okay to just be emotional and like, and you know, we get our emotions under control as well, but it's okay to be emotional. We are actually servicing the world by telling every human being, not even just sensitives, every human being on the planet, it's okay to have feelings, because guess what? You're human. You have them. And when people encounter us, like, how many times have you been chatting with somebody and they just show up and they just start bawling? And they're like, I've never cried. And like, they're standing next to me and they're crying and then I'm crying. But because they felt the like safety of like, oh my God, I can let my emotions out around you. We want that worldwide. We want it worldwide, because how many issues come from people just keeping their emotions in and just being like, nope, I don't have them, I'm not hurt. And then they go out and they like totally destroy things because they're in denial that they have feelings and that they're hurt, and they don't do the work.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that this work has a ripple effect. Like, I want you guys to do it for you, but I know that sometimes when we're in a place where we don't feel good enough about ourselves, we're like, well, I don't deserve this, or it's selfish for me to take this time for myself, or it's selfish for me to spend this money on myself. No. It's not. It's imperative for you, because you fucking deserve it, and you deserve to feel good about your life, and you deserve to feel safe and on purpose and grounded. And also, it's going to help and heal so many more people. So if that needs to be your motivation to give yourself the gift of inner work, whether it's with me or anyone else, I don't care. But if that needs to be your motivation, let that be your motivation, because eventually it will become for you. But it is so important that we do this. And also, life is so much more fun. Honestly, it just feels so much better.
I mean, I feel like I'm on top of the world. I mean, I did so much work, and trust me, during the work phase, it's like so painful, because, you know, you just have to realize, as we know, we're clearing the conditioning, we're clearing the thousands of years, especially as a woman, and, you know, as an intuitive person. I mean, there's so, you know, witches were burned back in the day. Like, there's just so many years and years and centuries of like people trying to keep people's emotions down, because if we feel and we're human, then we're standing in our power, right? So that makes sense. So when you're doing the work, it is so painful, but it is so worth it. I can't tell you anyone on the planet that I know of that has said, I've done the work, and they're like, I would rather go back there. You know, no, they're like, wow, it was hard. And the only reason it's hard, by the way, is because we resist it. So even if we're aware of doing the work and we fully throw ourselves, there was an instance that just happened to me that I was like so aware that like work was happening. I won't get into it, but I was like, I was very aware, like, this is so painful, but I see that healing is happening, and I just have to throw myself into it, and I just have to do it. And it was so hard, but I knew, like, because I'm aware, it's actually going to take less time. It only took like a few weeks. And because I'm aware, I know that at the end of this, I am healing. Like, I saw all my triggers come up and all of my things come up. But I was like, at the end of this, I know that those things are going to be gone. Because that's the other thing. When you are doing the work, you're actually releasing that stuff. So when you feel it, it's layers, so it doesn't all go right away, but you have a giant breakthrough. Like Amber, you know, working with her is like an incredible breakthrough. You have these breakthroughs in those 6 months, and like all of that gets released, and it's gone.
And it's gone.
That's the beautiful thing. It's gone.
Yeah.
The work is like, oh, I gotta do it again. No, it's not like driving to work where you're like, I gotta get in traffic again the next day. No, you're like,
you do it.
You're like, wow, I just cried in front of everybody. I'm never going to feel afraid to do it again. And you don't. That's what we're saying is like the beautiful feeling, and the freedom is like, you're like, oh, wow. What was I so worried about? When it's done, of course, you're like, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Every time I'm like, well, that seemed really detrimental, but I didn't die. And like, nobody got hurt. I was like, so that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I feel 1,000 times better afterwards. And this freedom, this
freedom.
feeling of freedom.
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. And it's, and that's why it's really, I mean, you can do this on your own, but it's going to take a lot longer and it's going to be a lot harder and it's not going to feel as good. And, if I had not had my own coaches and intuits and therapists,
so many coaches,
like I would not be where I am today, and again, that's why I'm so passionate about this work. And that's why I created this program, so that you can have this really potent transformational 6 months where you're held by me and you're held by the other women in the group. And, it's not all like tears and grief. We have fun too. Like, we're also figuring out, like, I heard
her on one of her coaching calls, we like walking in at the end and I heard her giggling and then I was like, oh, they're having fun, whatever they're talking about, and I know I've been on my own coaching calls and like they're breakthroughs. So like sometimes you get emotional and then like at the end of it, you're all like, seriously, if you've ever been on that, you're just like, we love each other. Like I always walk away and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. I'm so happy right now. Like that's how I feel at the end of like every coaching call.
I know, right?
It's so great.
It's because when you can have that kind of a profound transformation in that like really safe held container and in that short period of time, it's like, oh my God, like where will I be in 6 months from now? How can this will be so accelerated. And then you just come out the other side and so much of that stuff is healed. And I'm not going to say you're never going to have to do any more work or do any more healing, because of course we're always evolving and we're always getting to new levels and, getting closer to our highest self and get up leveling. But what happens in the program like this is that you get rid of that stuff that has been backlogged.
The really
that
deep,
has been holding
deep
you down.
Yeah.
And you get really centered in your worth, in your purpose, in your connection to yourself. And you now have a toolbox of coping strategies for all the feels, for the emotional overwhelm, for the fears, things that are going to stick with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And so I always say to people, it's an investment. Of course it is. But the investment lasts 6 months and the results last a lifetime.
I can say like just, again, doing the work, it also like when things come up, once you do the work, things are going to come up, but just like that, like you're so aware of what those things are and you go, okay, and you have the ability, because you let go of the big blocks, the big stuff goes. Like all of that big stuff is like gone. And then, you're interacting in life. Life's always throwing you tests, but you are aware. And so you see them right away and you get through them. Like I had an entire lifetime of dealing with issues with my dad. And then, then I would encounter somebody that I could see those issues and those triggers coming up. And in a matter of like 2 weeks, there were times when I would joke with my friend, in a matter of 24 hours, we recognized the thing. We totally freaked out. The trigger hit. We recognized it. We talked about it. By the next morning, it was gone. Like that is how fast you can do it, because I did all of the work and I got rid of the blocks. And then in the meantime, when you're doing the work, you're finding the tools that work for you, and you get to sense like, this is what triggers feel like. Okay, now I'm aware of them. This is how I dealt with them the last time. Okay, well, now I have these tools to deal with them again. And I'm not even kidding. Within 24 hours, huge blocks gone, and like triggers gone. And I was like, whoa, I'm good. Just need to sleep on it and I'm good. And like, that's how I go through life now. I'm like, well, the things are going to keep coming up, but just like that, I can make a choice and I can make a decision, and I let those feelings just flow through me. And then by the time they flow through, they're out, it's done. Because
you've experienced what that feels like in a safe container with somebody that's teaching you how to do that. And then you know how to do it for yourself. Not that you'll never want to reach out to another guide or a therapist or healer, fine, but you have that ability. You know what it feels like to go through that process. And, and I always like to say to people who are considering this mentorship that like, look, we're going to go through all of this stuff. And then you get to walk away and take this with you, because I am not here to fix you. I am here to help you remove everything that's holding you back from the truth of who you are and the wisdom that you have within you, so that you can move forward in your life, having that strong connection to who you are, being able to heal yourself, being able to witness your own triggers, witness your own limiting beliefs as they come up. And once you clear the backlog, you can deal with stuff as it comes up, and you don't get in that place where you feel like you're carrying a ton of bricks on your back. So it is really, really something that you're able to take into the rest of your life and use, not just to help other people, but to heal yourself.
Yeah.
And so if you guys are at all, I know we could talk for like 3 hours.
I just want to comment on this, because having been through so many coaches and knowing Amber and working with Amber as well, you know, I will say that, like, I can firsthand say that I spent many, many years trying to, like, deal with it myself, and I had no idea what I was doing. And just joining a group and just getting a professional to actually, like, hold the space for me, night and day. I mean, it is such an accelerated growth experience where because you used to, like, my whole life I've been feeling like this and like, oh, I feel gross. And when you work with somebody, it's like so much faster. It is so much faster. Yeah. And then you're also with other people in the group that you see what they're going through, and you feel like this, you know, sisterhood or brotherhood or like this group effort, and you just feel like, oh, I'm not alone. And that in itself, like, those two things, is working with a professional, like, you know how to take people through this journey because you've been through it. I think that's a really important thing to say, is like, you know, when you're thinking like, oh, it's an investment, it's like, but how many years? Like, I know, like, how many years did I spend being miserable? And how many more years do I want to be miserable? 0. I want to get through this right now. You know, so I'm like, when I meet people that I know I need to work with, I'm like, boom, my intuition brought me to this person. Your intuition is never wrong. You always find the person that you need to. And then your human self has to get out of the way and let your soul drive and go, this is why we're here. This needs to happen. You're ready to step up. And I'm going to echo what Amber said, in that we are getting so much guidance right now in every direction that now is the time. Now. There's no waiting. There's no 5 years. There's no 2 years. The world is shifting in a huge, massive way. And we need all the people we met that are healed right now. Absolutely. And it's like, it's just like this urgency. Like, I just have this urgency of like,
it is.
We need to do it now.
And that's why I'm like, you know, if I'm not the person for you, fine. But do the work. But I would love to be the person for you. But it doesn't matter. Like, you just do the work. Find somebody and do the work, you know. And if you are called to work with me, this is my most powerful container of transformation. I will hold you in 100% love and support. And I open myself to every part of everyone. Your darkness, your light, your trauma, everything. All parts of you are welcome in this program. All parts of you are welcome with me. I've been through so much my own self. This is a very, very safe container, and it is a very transformational container. And, you know, I know it's a lot to commit to a 6-month program, to commit to the investment. So I am taking calls for the next couple of weeks, totally free. Let's get on the call. Let's chat about what's going on with you. Let's talk about how your sensitivity actually makes you strong. Let's talk about what you're struggling with. And together, no pressure, together we will see if this is the right fit for you, if this is the right move for you right now. So if you're questioning at all, if you have any, you know, concerns about the mentorship, snatch one of those phone calls with me. I'm putting the link in the description here to the details page on my website that has all the details about the mentorship. I'm not going to go into all of them on this live. But yeah, you can also email me, amber@amberrochelle.com, and feel free to schedule a call with me. I would love to talk to you and explore if this is the right fit for you. But just know that you are so needed and you matter so much, and that personal growth is the best thing you can ever gift to yourself. So thanks for hanging with us, you guys. We were like, oh, we're just going to do 10, 15 minutes. We're going to, you know, 40 minutes later. You know,
honestly, like, she was talking and I'm like tearing right now. I'm like, I know what this girl has been through, and like, I'm going to cry. I need this. I'm going to cry. I can't remember this. We're crying right now. This is what happens when we get together. Literally, just
we
like,
cried like all yesterday.
Last night we're just like, because that's the beauty of being around another sensitive person.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god, I can be myself, and I'm just gonna cry. I'm doing it. It's happening.
Well, thank you for everyone who watched with us today, and for those who are watching the replay. We love you guys. I hope that this served you, and I'm here for you. I'm gonna tag Kristen as well. She's here for you. And you know, go out and give yourself this gift. All right, guys. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.